Hello, and thank you very much for joining us on the Great Unexplained Debate. My name's Karl Beattie, and I'm going to be your host for the next hour of lots of chat and talk, lots of questions, lots of answers with my panel. Now, this is an unedited show. It's recorded live, so what we say, you see. The only time you leave us is through the commercial breaks, or we leave you actually, because you'll probably still be sitting where you are. Anyway, I'll stop waffling and introduce my guests today. Steve Mera, thank you very much for coming back.
Yes, nice to be back.
Manchester Association of Paranormal Investigation and Haunting.
Yeah.
And training, sorry. And training.
Yeah, don't say that when you've had a drink.
Oh, well, it's easy for me to say. One of the oldest associations around. Next to you we have Dave Sadler. Thank you very much for coming back, Dave. It's great to have you here. The Unknown Phenomena Investigation Association, again, another very well established association into the paranormal. And you guys were some of the first around to be doing this, certainly in this area, and obviously there's loads grown since then. But so thank you very much for coming back to the show. And of course, next to me, Fred Batt, demonologist, witchcraft expert, paranormal investigator,
and pain in the arse.
Oh, we can't swear on this show, Fred. As I told you
I did
before.
it again, didn't I?
Yeah.
Sorry.
What I'd like to start off with is talking about poltergeists. Now, I know it's something you guys have quite dear to your heart. What are your standpoints on initially poltergeists? I'm not saying about ghosts in general, but poltergeists.
Well, the thing with the poltergeist phenomena is that it is a very, very, very rare phenomena. It's not as a lot of people out there. Oh, we've got a poltergeist. We've got a poltergeist. It's not as regular as that. Poltergeist phenomena is something that's very, very rare, and a lot of the time it's a lot to do with psychology more than anything. So for me, unfortunately, I've not in 12 years involved in the paranormal, I've not come across a actual poltergeist case as such. Steve, on the other hand, has been very lucky and has.
Just been in the right place at the right time.
But as I say, it's very rare. It's not as well made out as people suggest.
Yeah, I can say in 24 years of investigation, I've been lucky enough to come across 2 cases. I can say most definitely poltergeist related. It's significantly different than the haunting phenomena. I mean, for us, we have a pattern of investigation and identification of phenomena. And we break haunting phenomena into 3 different categories. We break it into localised phenomena, such as there's a tie between the incidents taking place there and the location. They could be translocational, which means that we can't find anything through any research, means a tie between what's taking place and the location. For instance, a new build, which is 8 months old, with an apparition of a Second World War soldier there, and nothing known to be standing where the building was. So we find nothing there. And of course, residual phenomena as well. Those things which are kind of recorded and played back. Those are referred to as what we believe are hauntings, the 3 categories of hauntings. Poltergeist on our steps up a little bit. And what we find is, what's really interesting, it's progressive. It's a progressive phenomenon. And we break those progressive stages into 6. Now, it always starts off as audible disturbances, poltergeists. The knockings, bangings, scratchings.
Well, hence the name, because poltergeist actually means noisy ghost.
Yeah, noisy ghost, yeah. Exactly. It progresses from there to object movement, object manipulation, which is kind of a 2nd stage. 3rd stage, you may see some form of apparition, amorphous shape, that sort of thing, 3rd stage. 4th stage, you could feel like you're being touched, hair pulled, that sort of thing, 4th stage. 5th stage is not so good, because it starts to probably adversely affect the individual, psychologically. And I've never actually come across a 6th case, where at 6th stage, where people actually believe that it starts to link on the demon. Well, you probably may know a little bit about this, how poltergeist phenomena because somehow stringed into demonology, and go into the whole demonology section. Then
basically become a mini devil.
In a sense of speaking, some people believe that they become demonic related.
Yeah. And then we're talking about almost possessions and that sort of thing. So I'm assuming that's where we're going, and they attach themselves to the person.
Yeah.
So what's your take on poltergeists?
Yeah, poltergeists, I've had a few experiences of those. One was a long, long time ago in a supermarket in London. This crowd was standing outside the window, and inside, packets of cereals, everything was just flying around everywhere. Nobody went in, it was empty. There's no one in the shop, but everything was flying around and people were standing outside watching it. And recent case, as you know, we did together for something we're looking at, where a woman and a child, the child was being molested apparently by a poltergeist, where the toys were moving around. We had locked off cameras there.
We actually caught these balls moving around the room on their own, and there's no apparent way of the cameras are locked off. There were 4 cameras, I believe, in that room. Yeah, there's no draft. We checked that through the thermal imager. No drafts coming through the window, but these balls were moving on their own. Unfortunately, we didn't actually see anything, but this is the thing with poltergeists. You have the famous cases. You have obviously the Enfield poltergeist, which I've looked into a fair amount.
I mean, we discussed that a lot with Maurice Gross. Used to be a member of our organisation.
Maurice,
I know. He discussed in length about the Enfield poltergeist case, and we discussed the Rochdale poltergeist case, which we did in 1995 with him, and they were remarkably similar in many ways. And that's what's so interesting about poltergeist phenomena, is because it follows a trend, it follows a pattern which you can literally predict the next things to take place. And that's what's so interesting. It's not like a haunting where it's been going on for 100 years, 200 years. Phenomena such as poltergeist phenomena can burn itself out relatively quickly, and rarely last longer than 14 or 15 months. You might get the odd exception, but they really usually are short-lived.
I know because I was talking to Dr. Kieran O'Keefe about the Enfield poltergeist. And he was saying exactly that usually poltergeist phenomena is for a short period of time, and the thing was with that, it seemed to go on for a fairly long period of time. And I think that the trouble is with the credibility of that story was almost ruined by the press, because I do think you're dealing with 2 young girls there, and I actually have no doubt that something was happening to them in their house. I have no doubt. But when you have the press and you have all these these fairly high flyers in your house, and you have Maurice Gross there, who is a lovely man, and he was there to help. But there must be at some point with kids this feeling they have to perform.
Well, exactly. I mean, some of the areas of the events that took place were found to have been. They had the ability to recreate or replicate what took place. Now, within MAPIT and the UPIA, a lot of things we can't substantiate because we can replicate or because we can recreate. And with, as I say, many of them, like the vocal tones, the girl was talking in a vocal tone that she claimed was down there. It can be done. It can be done. It can be replicated. So how can you authenticate something that you can replicate?
Well, I was talking to a guy like Playfair about the Enfield poltergeist thing, and I know that his point was, or some of the things he was saying was, you can do that, but it's kind of, could she do it?
Yeah, the capabilities.
And I think when I've heard that tape back so many times, and it is horrific, but I think there's only 2 ways you can look at it, and everyone I know seems to go, it's fake, or it's real. There's rarely this thing in the middle where people go, it could be. I'm not quite sure. It does sound.
But the thing is, though, the information that's readily available is that's readily available. It's reprinted time and time again. It's rehashed time and time again. People aren't going to the correct sources and looking at the case in depth. And if you can get to that information and look at it in depth, you're going to learn a little bit more. You're going to find out that little bit more and forward your knowledge of the subject, of that matter, and be able to make an acquired.
I've got to say, I wanted. That's why I really want to talk to Guy Lyle Playfair about it, because unfortunately, obviously, Maurice isn't with us anymore. So he seemed to be the next person to talk to about the subject, and get it almost straight from the horse's mouth, as you will. But we need to go to a break now. Sorry to interrupt. This always happens. Join us in a couple of minutes. We won't be going away. Please don't you.